Welcome to a video essay on cinematography. So, I guess I'll start by telling you why cinematography. Well, I've been inspired to work with film since childhood, basically. My mother would always pull out the camcorder. I'd get so excited. I'm like, oh, yo, like, this is cool. Cool cinema, getting on a video. Like, I just thought, like, the whole concept, the very concept of being recorded and being able to play it back was mind-blowing to me. Like, just all the time. Like, I wanted to, Mom, where's the camcorder? Where's the camcorder? You know, like, I just wanted to, you know, she would always pull it out when I least expected, you know, and she'd just, like, record me and my sister, and we would just, you know, just do our thing. We would either be at the playground, we would be, I'd be on the piano, playing piano, the Yamaha. Later on, she would put them on the TV, and we would watch them. And we would just watch it back, laugh at it, you know, laugh at little stuff there, you know. That's how it all started. And then in 2010, I eventually started making my own vlogs that never made it to the internet, and they're still on an old MacBook that I have downstairs in a box somewhere. It was fun. It's like I was just basically just replicating what my mom was doing, and because she had, like, over time, she would pull out the camcorder a little, like, less and less. So, like, I that kind of sucks so well. But yeah, so I eventually took matters into my own hands and just continued my inspiration and making videos and just putting them, you know, just putting them out. And it eventually brought me to gaining more knowledge at higher education, and I learned about the Kino Eye. And the Kino Eye is basically the conquest of space and time, and it uses multiple shooting techniques like montage and acceleration, all types of different angles and things like that, and it creates a totally different perspective. Because the thing with the Kino Eye and the philosophy behind it is basically that the human eye can't perceive things the same way a cinematic eye can. Things like acceleration, slow motion, or time lapses, you know, or different angles. Like, no one's gonna actually, like, if they want to see somebody as important, they're not gonna actually, you know, take a knee and look at them from downward up like a camera would, you know, like as a camera would portray an important character or an almighty character like Radio Raheem from Do the Right Thing.
What? You got a brain, right? Use it.
Peace, y'all.
Peace, Radio Raheem.
Peace, man.
You the man, I'm just visiting.
20 de-energizers.
20 C energizers?
D, not C, D.
C energizers?
D, motherfucker, D! Learn to speak English.
A brief history on the Kino Eye is that basically the term was coined by Dziga Vertov in the 1920s, and it dives into the seeming chaos of life, sometimes portrayed by acceleration, time lapses, for it to find in life itself the response to the assigned theme. So some really good examples of that are Baraka and obviously Man with the Movie Camera from December 1934. That's Dziga's most notable film, which Sergei Eisenstein was not too big of a fan on. He sees it as just meandering with the camera, and he's not, you know, he's one of the people that doesn't take it seriously. And of course, so a brief history on Vertov. 1918, he joins the film committee in Moscow. Became editor of the first newsreel programs produced by the Soviet government, Kino Nedelia, which means Film Week. And he also made Kino Pravda films. Excuse my pronunciation, I know it's Russian, which translates to Film Truth. And it was named after the Soviet daily newspaper, Pravda, founded by Lenin. So going back to the examples, Koyaanisqatsi was made in 1982, and that definitely executes exactly what is happening with the Kino Eye. It's basically a montage a continuous montage of things just happening all over the world, and specifically Koyaanisqatsi to me felt like time progressing forward. We start off in a desert, and eventually we see a truck, and we eventually see war and machines and factories, and then we start to see people. And the man with the movie camera, that one, it features basically the creation of a camera. And Baraka, a beautiful film, is definitely has some indigenous inspiration and is Asiatic. It's beautiful and just so introspective. It's the way the images are conveyed that gives you a different perception, separate from if you were to look at it yourself. What I mean by that is, say someone's in a Grand Canyon and they're hot, they ran out of water, they're kind of lost, and it's just like, oh, I'm in hell. I don't know where to go. It's just like an abandoned desert. You have that perception of it, and now you just want to get away from it. You hate it. It's like, it's terrible. But then when you sit down and look at the desert from that point of view, it's beautiful, especially with the soundtrack that sits behind it. It just gives you a totally different perception. Or like the city shots, someone could see the same thing as they're walking to work, and it's just nothing to them, and they don't look twice. However, when you convey that same exact thing in a movie with that context, it's like, and it gives you just a different perspective, and it makes you think differently about cities in general. And as you may notice, the cityscapes look exactly like circuit boards, hence Matrix. And the long takes, they really do immerse you into the films. You don't know what's going to happen, but it just keeps going. And Koyaanisqatsi in particular feels like a constant intro. Just like the intro just never stops. In some ways, this concept can be used for very unsettling purposes. Very unsettling, and yet so beautiful, as the drums just diminuendo and just send you into a trance almost of like suspense, because like that many people staring at you, it's something about to happen. As time in general progressed, we don't really get to see this type of content anymore. I think this content has definitely always been in a niche category, but we don't see it too much anymore. The film I mentioned before, Baraka, came out in 1992. A year before that, Slacker, a film by Richard Linklater. And this one is not exactly the typical style of Kino Eye. However, it is very close, and it features this wandering camera that just goes around different characters. There's no main character, and it just shows different lifestyles, different perspectives, and different people just throughout specifically Austin, Texas. But it just conveys a really big message that everything is always happening all at once. As time goes by, we don't see this too much because a lot of people now are just hyper focused on action movies, which there's nothing wrong with. They just don't have that same charm as the 90s do with the indie films and the indie auteur. We see a little bit of really good cinematography in mid 90s from 2018. And I'm appreciative of that because that's what we need more of. We need more originality. I'm very thankful for the modern films we do have that do hold up the aesthetic with Kevin Smith's Clerks 3. So in conclusion, I leave you with this quote. From the viewpoint of the ordinary eye, you see untruth. From the viewpoint of the cinematic eye, aided by special cinematic means, you see truth.